What up, yo? It's Marc with the Fantasy Knockout Fantasy Football Show. Today is Tuesday, August 16th. You can follow the show. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Fantasy Knockout. Please like and subscribe to whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Really helps me out. I'm excited for today's show because we have wide receiver rankings, my top guys. But let's get into some news.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the news.
News with views. So wide receiver Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. His head coach Arthur Smith said that London's knee injury is not long-term. It's not a long-term thing, quotes, right? He'll most likely miss some preseason stuff, but he'll be ready come week one. He nicked up his knee with his, one catch in the preseason game. He looked good, though. I like London this year. Wide receiver Christian Watson out of Green Bay. The Packers activated Watson with his knee from the PUP list. Also, tight end Robert Tonyan from the Packers. They also activated him with his ACL recovery from the PUP list. So they're back at practice. They're still further down on my draft boards as of now just because they have not had that connection with Rodgers yet. Wide receiver Devontae Smith out of Philadelphia. He's returned to practice on Sunday. I think he missed roughly 2 weeks with a groin injury. So this is good news. Hopefully he'll get out there and build some rapport back with his quarterback, Hurts. Quarterback Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's returned to the Bengals practice. He was recovering from his appendectomy the past 2 weeks, so back to normal for Joe. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney of the New York Giants. His head coach Brian DeBoer said that Toney's knee will probably not practice this week. News like this, it's going to be a tiebreaker for me in drafts at the moment. Especially coming down to Golladay and Toney around the same time in the draft, I'll go with Golladay instead. Running back Cam Akers of the Los Angeles Rams. His head coach Sean McVay said that both Akers and Henderson are dealing with soft tissue issues. Basically, they're going to hold them out of practice until they can get to full speed within the team drills. Not great news. I'm just going to have to wait and kind of see how long this lasts, but that's kind of a deal breaker for me taking Akers in the third or fourth round. I will wait on Akers at the moment. And then last is running back Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. Adam Schefter reports that there's a real chance that the status of Kamara's felony battery case is not going to affect his availability this year. So it was looking like this was more and more so, the case. So I moved him up in my rankings. I think I got him at 6. But there's still this chance of something happening, so you got to understand, don't take him in the first round. I would wait. If he's a value in the second or third round, I'll snag him up there and enjoy the value you will get with Kamara this season. All right, so we're going to go over my wide receiver rankings. We're going to go over the top 10 guys I like this year. You can check them out at the website, fantasyknockout.com as well.
Number one,
we got Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Kupp had a season for the ages last year with 14 weeks as a top 12 wide receiver. So they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and his connection with Stafford is fantastic. Even though his reception and touchdown regression is possible, the probability of Kupp finishing as a top 5 wide receiver is almost guaranteed.
Number two,
My number 2 guy, Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. So Jefferson had the most receiving yards ever for a wide receiver's first 2 years in the league. And he is even more stronger at home than on the road, averaging over 100 yards per game. The Vikings' new head coach, Kevin O'Connell, is looking to implement a more pass-happy approach this season, which could spell even more success for Jefferson moving forward.
Number three,
My number 3 guy is Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals, a 22-year-old with the second most fantasy points by a rookie wide receiver behind only Randy Moss. Jamar Chase is poised to have another stellar season. Chase is very boom or bust in 2021, and if you draft him, you have to hope that he becomes a clear-cut wide receiver 1 on the Bengals to give you a little more consistency. But I like Chase a lot.
Number four,
My number 4 guy is Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills. Last year, Diggs finished as wide receiver 7 and had the 5th most targets and the 2nd most red zone targets. Even though he was catching passes from the Stallion, only 72% of his targets were deemed catchable. He had fewer boom games than in previous seasons, but with a target share of 26 to 29% from Allen, he is still an incredibly valuable wide receiver, and I like Diggs a lot this year.
Number 5.
Number 5 guy is Davante Adams of the Raiders. It's time to send in the car for Davante Adams. And how much will this quarterback impact him? I feel he'll have no problem switching from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. And one could worry about touchdowns for Adams and him being a lock for double-digit touchdowns. We'll see. I'm not worried, though. I like Adams at number 5.
Number 6.
My number 6 guy is Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers. Newly paid Deebo finished as the wide receiver 2 in 2021, and he enters the season with a new quarterback, Trey Lance. So Samuel's rushing floor is insane for a wide receiver, plus his incredible yards after the catch numbers. Spell another strong year is on the horizon for him. His usage in the running game might diminish a little bit, but that should not affect his value too much.
Number 7.
Number 7 is CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. So all of a sudden the cheese stands alone and Lamb is by himself. And this might be Lamb's year to shine with a chance to get his hands on over 181 vacated targets. So to bring value to his draft spot, Lamb needs to finish with more than 6 touchdowns this year.
Number 8.
My number 8 guy is Mike Evans of the Bucs. The consistency king Mike Evans returns as Tom Brady's number 1 guy following the season where he finished as wide receiver 8. Evans has had 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and with Brady as his quarterback, this continues to be a very strong possibility this year. I expect another consistent season from Evans.
Number 9.
My number 9 guy is Mike Williams of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Williams came out hot in the start of 2021, and he fizzled out as the season progressed, then leaving with us 2 great weeks to end the year. I'm all in on Williams this year, and you should be able to get him a little bit in a value in your drafts, and especially in your home leagues. He does have the volatility built in, but that means there is a high end range or outcome for him, and that means week winning performances.
Number 10.
My number 10 guy is Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts. So Pittman breaks into the top 10 with his former MVP as a new quarterback. He had a breakout last season, and the competition for targets is almost non-existent. So for Pittman to go from good to great, Matt Ryan has to deliver this season. He needs opportunity from a more consistent source, and Matt Ryan is clearly better than Carson Wentz. Why I like Pittman this year. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. The next show is the running back rankings. I want to say thank you for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe whatever platform you are on. Leave a rating and review. Really helps me out. All right. Till next time. See ya.